thing, but before that, I want to see the CNN reporter showing scenes in Kabul just days after the Taliban takeover.
The U.S. troop.
They're like, you know, peaceful transfer of power didn't really stick for too long. I mean, you know, they're already fucking reneging on that agreement.
Withdrawal from Afghanistan as the Taliban solidifies its grip on that country, and Americans and allies rush to try to safely evacuate. This afternoon, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that the Taliban has agreed to give civilians safe passage to the Kabul airport, where the U.S. military is hoping to speed up the pace of evacuation flights within the next 24 hours. This striking image, obtained by Defense One, shows nearly 650 Afghans packed inside a U.S. military cargo plane. They were safely evacuated on Sunday to Qatar. The White House estimates that at least 11,000 Americans remain in Afghanistan. But those figures do not include the tens of thousands of Afghan allies who helped the U.S. during the war, and their families, who could be killed by the Taliban if they are not promptly flown out of the country.
Motherfucker said, don't they have COVID there? Listen, brother, I think that's one area where, like, I don't think they give a fuck about COVID right now. I feel like there's some different issues. It's not like they're going to Lollapalooza and that's why they're bunching up. You know what I mean? Imagine seeing like the fucking insane imagery coming out of the Kabul airport and being like, why aren't they social distancing, sweaty? Like,
country. Let's begin our coverage today with CNN's Clarissa Ward, who's live in the...
Funny how no one talks about Afghanistan's former socialist-oriented PDP party when talking about the original destabilization of the country. Yeah, they were... I mean, I have talked about it. Yeah, they were fucking not good. But this current iteration of Afghanistan is exclusively the fault of America and Pakistan, America's ally.
The Afghan capital of Kabul. And Clarissa, you're getting a sense of just how quickly life is changing for ordinary Afghan citizens who are once again...
I thought she needed a hijab. Bro, she's like up on a fucking rooftop by herself. I don't think she needs to wear one when she's like not interviewing the Taliban.
Rule of the Taliban.
That's right, Jake. I mean, there's the sense, I guess, that this is the new normalcy, and there are signs of normalcy creeping back onto the streets. The Taliban announced that government workers should be returning to their posts. Today, we saw traffic policemen on the roads guiding traffic. As I've mentioned before, the Taliban really wants to show that it can effectively govern, that it is not just a fighting force. But walking around the streets, Jake, it was impossible to ignore that women were not as visible. And we went out looking for those women to hear their stories. Take a listen.
Wait, Chad, we're trying to make a case for bringing in Afghan nationals using liberals' COVID madness. Not me. Bring as many as possible. Wait, are you insane? Who cares? You can fucking vaccinate and also, like, what? You can literally fucking quarantine every asylum seeker. Like, literally all of them. That's literally what Fox is saying. Yeah, fucking quarantine them. Do PCR tests, quarantine, and then vaccinate. And then quarantine more. Like, that makes no sense. It's like the easiest fucking solution, dude.
But walking around the streets, Jake, it was impossible to ignore that women were not as visible, and we went out looking for those women to hear their stories. Take a listen.
Dude, Fox News caring about like refugees being vaccinated in COVID is like when they act like they care about the women of Afghanistan. It's literally the definition of virtue signaling, like fake virtue signaling on a thing that you don't personally believe in at all. Like, you can't on the one hand be like, I don't believe that COVID is real. I don't believe that it's a fucking serious problem. And then simultaneously be like, but, you know, it's a serious problem if the immigrants are bringing it in. Oh, shit. This is pretty fucking funny. Someone says, where can I donate money to the Taliban? Trevor Phillips says, pay taxes in the United States. True. It's pretty obvious you don't care. It's like when conservatives say, conservatives in the EU do this a lot. You know what I mean? Because they're like a little bit more liberal. Like they're not as socially conservative or as outwardly socially conservative as American conservatives are. So they'll say stuff like, "Oh, we're bringing in, Muslim immigrants into the country, and they have a lot of conservative values and conservative opinions that, do not work well with our liberal Western governments." And it's like, dog, you literally, like, you are a conservative. Like, you also want to fucking take rights away from women. Like, you can't just turn around. You can't turn around and fucking be like, man, these Muslims are, they're doing these terrible things that I want to do. But when I do it, it's acceptable. But when the brown Muslims want to do it, it's unacceptable. It's like, and even then, there are, especially in America, I can't speak for like the UK or I can't speak for like other European countries. Since when is UK equals EU? When I say EU, I mean Europe, not fucking European Union, okay? But my point is, like, you can't fucking talk about like Muslims being conservative when you yourself are fucking conservative, okay? And you want to do conservatism here. At least Tucker Carlson's like kind of honest about how much he loves the Taliban. You know what I mean? This wasn't your best take. It absolutely is, because conservatives hate other countries' conservatives for their conservatism. Like, xenophobic conservatives literally talk about how backwards other countries' conservatives are when there's like fucking progressive people in those countries too. It's at the heart of like xenophobic conservatism. It's so stupid. You can say horrible take all you want. Ben Shapiro being like, gays are being thrown off the roofs because of, ISIS is throwing gays off the roofs. It's like, well, Ben, you literally don't want gays to have rights. You just have, through a series of like, liberal whiplash, tried to normalize your fucking conservative opinion on homosexuality in the United States over the course of many years. You know what I mean? If you had the same fucking conditions, if you had like a similar, if you had the similar material conditions on the ground, like you would 100% be like, yeah, no, gays should be maybe not thrown off the roofs, but like locked away for the degeneracy. So, spare me your fucking interest in the well-being and welfare of homosexuals when you literally are trying to, make a point against the welfare of queer people here in America. Yeah, it's not as bad as like throwing them off the fucking roofs. Anyway, let's keep going.
At the central Kabul market today, stores were open and people were back on the streets. Or at least some people. It was impossible not to notice that women here seem to have largely melted away. One store was doing better business than usual. For more than a decade,
let me guess, he's selling fucking burqas. Oh, here we go.
has been selling burqas, the head-to-toe covering once imposed by the Taliban. Business was good, but now it's even better, he tells us. More sales.
Why do you
Bro, this is like the MAGA guys. You know how like Trump supporters will always have like half of the Trump supporters make their money off like selling fucking Trump t-shirts? Same energy with this dude. He's like, I love the Taliban. It's very good. My burqa business is doing so well right now. Like, it's like a fucking meme, dude. It's like that one guy who was like, dude, my fucking dad, stop calling me, please. Oh my God. It's like that one fucking MAGA dude who was like, yeah, I'm in the debt collections business, so business is fucking booming. Okay, hold on, I gotta pick up.
You think you're selling more burqas right now?
Because the Taliban took over and all the women are afraid, he says. So that's why they're all coming in and buying burqas.
Do you feel abandoned?
Yeah, exactly.
In an apartment downtown, we saw that fear firsthand.
Bro, he can't even hear me. Like, I'm texting them and he can't even hear me. He's just like... It's just like such a dad move, dude. To like call just to be like, I can't hear you. Well, okay.
Until last week, Fazila was working for the UN. That's not her real name, and she asks we not show her face. She's petrified that the Taliban will link her to Western organizations and says she hasn't gone outside since they arrived in Kabul.
You look very frightened.
Exactly. Too much stress. It is not easy for a person to
Bro,
work.
they're not hiding their face. They're not hiding their identity. What the fuck? This is terrible, dude. Like, you can't do that. They're not even fucking changing their voice. Like, the fuck? Might as well just not even wear the veil at that point. Just fucking straight blast them in the face. They said it wasn't her name. Yeah, but they can literally, one, recognize her voice, and they already gave background information on where she used to work. Are you guys serious?
Worked a lot with international organization, having more than 10 years experience of working with international, and now no one of them helped me. Just sending emails to different organizations that I work with you, but now no response.
Are you angry?
No, I'm not angry, but as a person that who work with them, now I need their supports. It is not fair.
You look
Showing
very
her house?
emotional as well.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about my future, my daughters. What will happen to them if they kill me, 2 daughters without mother?
The Taliban says they have learned from history and that women's rights will be protected. But many fearful Afghan women remain to be persuaded.
We're on our way now to the home of a prominent female Afghan politician. She's told me that there are Taliban fighters outside her front door, so she's asked that I go in alone.
Fauzia Kufi was one of the Afghan government negotiators during peace talks with the Taliban and has dealt with the group a lot. She says that promising change is not enough.
They have to really prove it in the provinces across Afghanistan. They have to show it by example. It's very easy to issue statements, but people need to see that in practice.
Kufi has every reason not to trust. Last year, she was shot by unknown gunmen. The Taliban denied they were behind the attack.
You have children,
I have 2 daughters.
and are they here?
They are in Kabul.
And are you concerned for them? Or?
Wow, look at her. Yet another performative activist like Malala. Sorry, I had to say that. I keep going back to what that one fucking Twitter person was saying. Why is chat assuming it's the Taliban? I mean, it could be. If it's the Taliban though, they would probably mention it. And also, like, they would probably take ownership over it. And also, if it was the Taliban, I don't know if they would fucking kill like one of the negotiators or try to kill one of the negotiators.
I'm concerned for my daughters and all the girls of Afghanistan.
Many terror attacks happened around 2016 election that likely helped Trump get elected. These were caused by refugee nationals from countries like Libya, Syria, Afghanistan. It's not safe to take them in, yet that's what they're going to do. This is literally false. 75% of domestic terrorism is directly attributed to far-right, anti-government, white supremacist terror in this country since 9/11. So you are absolutely delusional if you think that that's not, like, that's just a straight up fucking lie. And I like that he has like a liberal spin to it where he's like, ugh, that's the reason why Trump got elected. It's like, my personal racist beliefs about something that did not even fucking happen is the reason why Trump got elected, and now liberals are going to get another Trump elected. It's like, what the fuck?
I don't want history to repeat itself on them very brutally.
Jake, we heard for the first time in person from the Taliban spokesperson, Zabiullah Mujahid. He gave a press conference tonight, and it was really interesting to see the types of questions that were asked by Afghan journalists particularly. It really goes to show you how much has changed here in 2 generations, or 2 decades, I should say. These journalists were not pulling any punches. They pushed him on women's rights. They pushed him on whether women would be able to continue working as journalists, continue working on television. And he was sort of struggling to answer and give a direct and coherent response. But the one question that really just stuck with me, it was so extraordinary. He was talking about this blanket amnesty that the Taliban has granted to everyone. And this journalist stood up and says, "But will the Afghan people forgive you for all the people, the innocent civilians who've been killed in your car bombs?" To which Mujahid replied, "Well, that's collateral damage. It happens." But the courage of that journalist to ask that question, to look him squarely in the eye and ask that, I think it speaks to the real changes that have happened here in the last 20 years, Jake. And whether the Taliban has changed or not, the people here certainly have.
Right, the existence of social media, a whole generation of girls, women, and boys and men educated in the last 20 years. Clarissa, what was the mood like when you were walking around Kabul earlier today?
It's a very strange mood because it looks normal. It feels secure. There isn't that same, as a journalist even, there's not the same fear that at any moment you could be kidnapped or shot or blown up. And that's partially because the people who might have done that to you before are now the people who are in charge of the place. But the market was open. It was bustling. I would say about a third of the stores, if not half of the stores, were open. And traffic was moving. This is this moment. The Taliban knows they have to get it right. They know that they have to get things moving along again, that if there's any vacuum or any kind of violent crackdown of any sort or chaos, that they will lose the momentum that they have on their side. They're keen to show now that they're benevolent, as well as being able to provide law and order. But you heard it from those women, and particularly from Fawzia Kufa, an extraordinarily brave politician. The proof will be in the pudding. And it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Right, and we've seen the Taliban, as they took over the country, grabbing young girls, forcing them into these, I don't want to call them marriages, but forcing them into these hideous relationships with their fighters. You just mentioned that the
Wait, what? That makes it sound worse, Jake. What the fuck? You made it seem like there's consent there. These hideous relationships. Just say forced marriage. Like, everybody knows that that's bad, dog. It's literally, he was like trying to make it sound worse, and then he made it sound like he was defending what this was. Like, you know, putting them into problematic relationships, you know, where the Taliban are gaslighting these little girls. They're gatekeeping. It's toxic. There's a toxic relationships. You just said toxic relationships. What the fuck?
Taliban claimed today that they've pledged amnesty to former Afghan forces. They also said there would be, quote, no violence against women. I mean, can anybody trust anything that they have to say?
I think that for the most part, people have a really hard time trusting. And I asked Fawzia Kufa, I said,
You're a fraud showing CNN like they report accurately on foreign countries. What? What can I show instead? Like fucking Live Leak? Are you down there? Do you know someone that's down there? The fuck?
come on, you've dealt with them, you've been with them, you've negotiated with them. Do you believe what they're saying? And she said, for now, it's hard for me to trust. She doesn't rule it out entirely. But here's the thing, Jake. It's not enough for the Taliban just to say women can be educated. It's about leading by example. And so if the Taliban wants to really show that they have changed in this respect from their fundamental ideology, then they need to actively campaign for women's education to make it clear to all the people in this country.
They literally are not going to do that. Okay, they're not. And they're going to say women can be They're going to say what they've been saying, that women can be educated, except, you know, in what Allah wishes them to be educated. And then once they get to a certain age, and this is what they've said so far, like, women get Quran education only, okay? And then also on top of that, they don't get to be, there's no co-ed. There's no, like, education once they reach like, maturity or puberty. No more co-ed education for girls and boys together. Women are no longer allowed to be in the presence of men. Like, these are the types of things that they're going to be fucking, you know, pushing for and are open about.
Country, that there is a new direction, because the other woman, Fazila as we called her, she told me that her sister went out to buy some milk the other day, and the grocer at the grocery store said to her, you know, you really should be wearing proper hijab, proper covering. He never would have said that 2 weeks ago, but now, because the Taliban is in town, people adopt their posture, they change their behavior to please what they think is the sort of prevailing lord or a...
I mean, they're like, you know, they're literally just conservatives. They're fundamentalists, so they're like mega conservatives. Their version of the world is unironically what like a lot of these fucking weirdo, like Jordan Peterson wants women to not be in the workplace. You know what I mean? Like, actually, ironically, Jordan Peterson has a big fucking Muslim following. I don't know if you know that or not. But that's part of the reason why he's like, you know, we don't know what the consequences are of women working in the workforce side by side with men. We simply don't know. Like, he'll just let that hang, you know what I mean? And you can make assertions on that if you will. Yeah, see? Look. I mean, I got Western fucking psychos in here. Most women don't want women in the workplace. Stop being so naive. See? It's just fucking, boop, mask off, dude. Literally, like. What, you think the Taliban and Jordan Peterson don't have the exact same fucking take on makeup? Women wearing makeup in the workplace? Come on, dude. I'm not saying Jordan Peterson is, like, as reactionary as the Taliban. They just have a lot of ideas that are similar to one another.
Ruler at the time. And that's the real problem here. The Taliban can't just say these things in passing. They have to actively show by example that there have been fundamental changes in the way they're going to govern. And I would say from people I have spoken to, not many have a huge amount of faith that that is really going to happen.
Yeah. Clarissa Ward, live in Kabul, Afghanistan. Thank you for your brave reporting as always. Joining us now to discuss General David Petraeus, the former commander of...
Lost the plot there. Losing the plot here, little buddy. Okay, you fucking incel dweeb lord. I mean, thank you for making the argument that, like, everyone was going to consider to be a straw man. You basically fucking literally admitted the argument yourself. Like, I didn't have to do anything. I mean, I said little buddy, dude. I'm your fucking father.
Of U.S. and NATO forces in Afghanistan from 2010 to 2011. General, I'd like to know what your reaction has been to what we've seen out of Kabul the last few days.
Well, I think it's hard not to observe that it's just heartbreaking. It's tragic. And whatever you may think of the previous Afghan government, its replacement by a group that has been fighting against us for 20 years, that has killed civilians left and right, that has done all of the things that you described in the rural areas that they have entered prior to getting to Kabul. It's very hard to see that as anything but disastrous. The previous government, again, for...
My favorite part about this is, like, we literally have all of the people directly responsible for all of the death and destruction that fell upon the Afghan people. Like, every time you watch a video of an Afghan civilian, like, clinging onto a fucking plane, like, remember that most of these people are responsible, including those who banged the war drums, like Jake Tapper. Like, imagine having David Petraeus on to be like, oh, yeah, it's just like, you know, these Afghans, they're fucking cowards, bro. You know? Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for, you know, giving us our, giving us the hot take on that. You know, I know that you were super considerate of that.
For all of its shortcomings and flaws, wholeheartedly supported our effort to ensure that al-Qaeda could not reestablish the kind of sanctuary that it enjoyed when it planned the 9/11 attacks on Afghan soil under the control of the Taliban.
Let me try to explain.
It is absolutely